Hello, beloved ones. Wow, it's a magical Friday, and I'm just happy that I'm here with you all. This is my first video of the week, and I'm excited to be here. At the same time, I'm just checking here because I want to share this video to some of the groups. How are you feeling? This is like one question. I'm not saying when I ask how are you feeling, you can write it down to say this is how I'm feeling, or don't just say I'm just good, like the scripted way of just responding to how you're feeling. Just check in with yourself and just check on how you're feeling. It's the first end of the first week of May, and the question is where you at, how do you feel? Are you feeling expansive? Are you feeling this turmoil of emotions that is just showing up for us in many different ways? It's quite interesting. Like I said, the juiciness of life isn't really in feeling, like really being with ourselves and not judging to say you are not supposed to be here. I love the feeling rebellious. Rebellious against what? And share your name because it's just saying Facebook user. So I'd like to know who I'm talking to right now. Let's just check in with how you're feeling. I love the rebellious feeling. It's quite interesting. I have been on a journey since last week where there is something that was happening, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna name it as it is. There was a point where I realized there is someone, a relative, that was so, yeah, we're connected in many ways. We're the same in many ways. So I had to face the reality that this person, hi Liz, oh, I'm grateful that it's you. Lovely connecting with you. I love that. And how is that, because like rebelling, whatever that you're feeling rebellious against, is one of those things that is like, for a long time, I know you even at times you can rebel against something. There is a part of you that kind of like beat you up and go like, this is not right, this is not right, this is not right. Hi, Christina. Oh, thanks for being present with me. So we feel that way. It's like, that this is not you, and you go ahead and do and be whoever you are. And then from there, it's like, maybe I should have listened. And actually, what I find quite interesting with me, with my years of, oh, it's Christina is feeling rebellious. That's it. It's a good space to be. Like I say, there's no judgment, there's nothing. It's just to be and embrace what you're feeling and see whatever message that it has for you. Because at times, and it's quite interesting because I'm also talking about that, remembering. When you say that, I just remember my childhood, because I have been the kind of person who was like, I'm gonna be myself. And it was always having to push against something. And then afterwards, it feels like, maybe I should have just listened. And what I find quite interesting is that as I grow up and start doing my work, I realize that in that rebelling and going whatever and really trying to be myself and even speaking, because I'm the kind of person who's like, when I was jumping into this work, I'm like, my throat must be open because I'm always speaking for myself. I'm standing up for myself. And I realized that even the speaking, it was like really just out of anger, opening a little bit out and not really speaking from my truth. It was like all that I was sharing and speaking from, it was coming from the fear of not wanting to be what other people want me to be. And even at times when you go against something, like I said, at times you have to push against something to be yourself. And I find it quite fascinating. There was a time when I was on a call with the client, and that kind of pushing through something, it gets to a point where when there is nothing to push against, it feels like there's no life. What else can I seek distraction from? What can I look for so that there can be something that can force me to be myself? I don't know if that makes sense, but it was quite interesting to realize that when you push yourself against something, there is a tendency, sort of like a pattern, that it's easy to fall into, of trying to find something so that you can forcefully try to be yourself, because you are not used to having this space of saying it doesn't matter. You don't have to push against anything. You don't have to ask permission. You just have to be yourself and embrace who you are, you know. So it's like that thin line where you have to really check to say, is it okay for me to just be myself? Because it's our inner children. Actually, when you talk about feelings, when you talk about emotions, it's our inner children. It's also interesting because my throat, I've been feeling my throat. There's a lot that is clearing around that speaking your truth, being yourself, which is like what I'm just feeling in the call. So last week I was facing that moment where there is this, like, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at that. I'm aware that this person is going to pass, but I don't want to accept it. I don't want to look at it. And there was a whole lot of grief that was like building inside of me. And this week, the person really passed. And I realized, like, oh, this is like 25 plus emotions of grief that I've been holding within me. And I love that you brought the word rebellious, because it's like so very much in relation to what I'm gonna share in so many ways. And I remember there was a time when I was crying. I don't know if it was the night before the funeral, and one of the caretakers who was like helping me to really go through it, she said, "How, don't cry. He was sick." And my 14-year-old self and that kind of like defensive personality or aspect of mine snapped out, and I felt the anger. As in, like, so what? If he was sick, am I not supposed to feel what I'm feeling? Why do you want me to stop crying? And I realized, and I'm just getting it now, that anger, it kind of like I flipped into the anger, and I didn't process what I had to process. And the memories that were coming through were, again, a year later, when because in my tradition back then, actually, it's not really happening that much. After someone passed, you stay for a year, and then his belongings were distributed after a year. And when that happens, because we used to like cut our hair bald, and then we cut our hair bald again during that distribution of the deceased belongings. And I was a teenager, like 15 years then, and I was told like I had to cut my hair. And for me, it was like, I don't know if I want to go to school with a bald head. I mean, I understand the reason behind it, but I don't want to do it, you know? And I told my family that I would like to just cut a little bit. And I remember one of the elders say to me, "You were crying here for your father's passing, and now when you have to do the ritualism, like cut your hair and all that, you don't want to do it." And I fully flipped again the rebellious aspect of me, and I just asked to say, why should I cut my hair? And again, we had this whole Christianity, you know, thing. And I asked them, what's the point? You know, do you want to tell me that if I cut my hair, then he's gonna wake up or what? That was the rebellious aspect of me, just questioning things. And there was also a part of me, as much as I was standing up to say, this is what I want to do. And I would appreciate if you can respect that. And then there is this part that felt guilty to say, maybe by not cutting my hair, I'm not fully honoring his passing. You know, there was just a lot of things that were happening. And I didn't realize until 25 plus later that, oh my God, I really didn't go through the morning the way it wanted to sort of like let out whatever that had to come out. I didn't. There was just a lot of things that were coming up, especially that there is who I was and what I felt, what I wanted, and there is the whole thing of this is how it has to be done. And there is a part of me that 14 years old that felt guilty to say, then if I don't do it, then probably I'm not really honoring the passing of my dad. Then you go into that beating of yourself, feeling guilty and that turmoil and all that. And again, you have to come through and protect yourself. And this is also the beautiful thing. When I talk about emotions, say whether it's anger and whatever, you might call it so many names, but I know anger, as much as it's a protective mechanism, it also has that fire within it. You know, this is why, and for me, that's one thing that really stopped me from really going into depression. Because with what I was going through, feeling that I don't belong and all that, had I not used anger as that fire that was burning something, even though it was not burning everything, it was easy for me to go into depression. But it was the fire that always bent a little bit of something so I can keep on going. And as I always say again, it is that fire that had to burn. When it bent and then went down to all the sadness and all the grief, then I realized there is a whole lot of love within me that does not need any approval or anything. It's just who I am, So when I say really, the feelings, all those emotions, and emotions won't be there, whether it's that sadness or grief or whatever you call it, it won't be there if it doesn't have a purpose. It won't be there if it doesn't have a purpose. It's showing up because there is a reason for it. So this whole thing of no, just get yourself out of it, and the getting yourself out of it is like, go look for joy, go look for love, because in your mind you are coming from the lack. It's like love is not here, joy is not here, but all is present. All is present. How can you not be loved? How can you not feel love if you are loved? Love is present. But at times, because of some things that we go through and we learn to adapt through our childhood issues and some other issues that we know, I mean, we've lived many lifetimes. We have been here, we've done this, and we can't do it wrong. But the most important thing is to choose the being that you are, to embrace this body, because the only thing that you own, listen to this, the only thing that you own is the body. That's the only thing that is yours. Like, really. And now you want to operate from only the neck up and ignore the whole thing. This is what you are walking. When the body is done with its purpose, that's it. That's it. And now you can imagine going through life without really feeling anything. As I say that, imagine one day you wake up and you can't even feel anything. You just now can pour hot water. There's nothing. You're not feeling anything. You wish for that pain to say, I just want something to show me that I'm still alive. And that's the words that we use. It's like, I was just numb. I felt dead for a while. When you feel a little bit of pain, which is a way that your body tells you, hey, pay attention. There is something that is happening. Are you willing to look at this? Oh, I was always the good girl. I just love that, because it's still that inner child who's still, I mean, and when you talk about dependency at the same time, it's like we become dependent as children because we don't know, we can't do anything to us. So it's like, as we are born, that's one thing that we're introduced to as children. And with time, we just learn that for me to have my needs met, I have to depend on someone. We are not taught to be self-reliant. And then one day we are thrown into life to say, go ahead, fend for yourself. You don't even know how to do it. This is why even when you get into relationship, it's like, what do you want? I'll give you anything you want so that you can just love me. We all want to belong. We all want to be loved so much. We don't know what we're capable of when we are by our own, because it's something that we are not taught anything about, that to be self-reliant, and to also know that when you love yourself and you rely on yourself, you can even love even more deeper. You can have that deeper love connection rather than because most of us, we confuse the need and the love, where someone stays in a relationship and they go like, yeah, they need me. Like, there is that need, you feel it's love. Actually, some people even confuse it at all. It's like, I'm still with this person because I know they need me. They don't even know what love is. It's like, I have a purpose when I'm in this relationship. And there is a whole lot of big confusion between the two. And I love what Christina said as well. Yeah. And when you don't agree, you are a rebel, you are called so many names, and this is what we're afraid of. And we shut off the feelings, we shut off our emotions. We do what everybody will consider as powerful, as positive. And I know there was a time even in my life where I I know that I didn't feel whatever that you were told to feel, or even with affirmation, you can do affirmation. But with me, I'll go the other way, especially when you are going through some life challenges. Because who you are is not afraid of going through whatever life challenges or whatever that life is giving is giving you or throwing at you at that particular point in time. Because you know who you are, and you are not in that denial to say this has to be here or not. It's just that knowing to say all is present in this now moment. Just knowing that even God is present. Whatever that you might be facing, God is present. And the whole of embracing all that you are, embracing the wholeness, it's just knowing that your source is God. And you know, no matter what you go through, even if you can find yourself in the middle of the desert, you know that God is present with you. I remember there was a time when I was going through my own challenges in my relationship. I found myself in a foreign country. I was in a relationship that was like in a tumbling upside down, and I was by myself. And I know as I was walking, I knew that I am protected. I knew that I have this support. And as much as I didn't have anyone in the physical, for me, that was the moment when even the presence of my mom in my life was more, I cannot put it into words. And that was the time when I was like, if she was alive, I wouldn't have felt this support, because she would be limited by the physical body. But now that she was in spirit, she was able to be with me when I needed that motherly support. And that was the first time that I gave birth without her. So there was that part of me that was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do because my mom is not here. But she was in spirit, she could be here with me. And that's when you know that love does not come from anything outside of you, as in like in the physical. It's all within me. And that all within me, which is like the deep connection with yourself, is being able to connect with all that is. Because even those people who have left us and all that has happened, they are within us. But when we are able to connect deep within us, we can hear those lovely words. We can connect with the love that is always present with us. It's not something that you find outside of you. So every time when you say, God, where were you when I needed you the most? Were you present enough to feel the presence of God? Were you present enough to hear the word of God? Or you were busy running around with the mind? Because the mind is like a dog. When you discipline it and tell it, connect with my heart, listen to my heart, connect with the body, there is a lot that comes with that. Like I shared yesterday, true embodiment is knowing, really assigning your mind to work with your heart so that there can be that harmony, so that you can really trust in that divine plan that happens when the two are working together. When you connect to that purpose, as I always say, your power is truly when you align your personality with your soul. And that is being deep within with all that you are. What do you do when you feel like God isn't there? That's a good question. Because we go through a lot. We go through this a lot. Actually, I've realized that one of the wounding that we have, even though it looks like it's the wounding with our parents, it's really the relationship with God. Because all the wounding, no matter what you call it, it all leads to one thing. What is coming through with this question is what is God to you? Because at times we have, like I said, there is that we have this mindset that God is present when Suddenly I get a job that I want. Suddenly I've got some money in my account. Suddenly I have met my soulmate and I just feel loved and all that. That is like when you look outside of you and see what is happening, all the good things and all that. But God is not is not conditional. It's not only present when all those things are happening. It's who you are. And feeling the absence of God, where are you not willing to what is it that tells you that God is not present at that moment? Because it's just like the mind playing its game, where this is why I have to ask, I'm asking to say, what is it that you will be going through that makes you think God is not present? Because I believe when you don't feel the presence of God, when you feel you're not connecting with God, you're not connecting with yourself. Because God is always present. This is why I'm saying the question is, are you willing to receive that? And this is why also we are always told there is this ask and it is given. And you can always ask God to say, God, show your presence in this now moment, because I cannot feel you. And don't hold on to how it has to look like for God to be present in your life. Just be open, and say, I want to see your presence. Show me something that can really assure me that you are here with me. When there's a lot of fear, I struggle to feel God is there. Because fear is fear is that absence of love. Is where you are holding into stories. And this is why I say, I'm asking, what is it that would be happening for you to feel that God is not present? So you are into fear. And what is that fear? What is it that you're afraid of? Because when you break it down, you realize that it's your mind just telling you stories. And again, like I said, embrace all that is showing up. When you breathe and allow yourself to connect with the present, and just ask God to say, God, show me your presence in my life. Or even I ask for God's intervention. I command divine intervention in this now moment, because I want to know the presence of God in my life right now. That's you asking and being open to feel. Failure and rejections, those are just failure of what? And what is the worst thing that can happen with that? If I have to just ask you, what is the worst thing that can happen? Because it's way of turning things to say, to really see what you're afraid of. I'm afraid of failing. What is that you want to do? And what is the worst thing that can happen if you fail? Because when you realize when you look at it, it's like I said, it's always the mind that takes you through that process of so many things, like you going through, like I said, I was on a call with someone who said, my mind is going 500 kilometers per hour. I don't know how to stop it. And this is someone who is really doing well. It's not even to say, and actually I love that you brought, it's like the failure, the fear of failure and rejection and all that. This, as much as right now you might be looking, yes, and this comes from like the core issues, where this really stems from where your identity still is like, I have to get somewhere to prove something. Like I was giving an example with someone who said his mind was working. It's quite interesting, because I'm still, as we are talking about this, I'm telling you, I'm just getting like masculine issues right here. I'm just feeling that energy that is just coming through, and that's what we're processing at the moment. And I'm glad that you took advantage and started asking what is really going on, because I'm feeling all of that coming through. I don't know if you're feeling some energy on your I'm getting it on my right legs. For you it might be a mirror. Just observe what is happening, and just take a breath with that. Because I'll give you an example with someone I was having a call with. There's a lot of emotions that are coming through again on the solar plexus. I was having a call with someone, and this person said, my mind is always like actually I could feel what was going on, and I was asking, what is this fear that is happening? And it's like, my business is doing well, I'm just so successful, and all the stories. He's not successful, but he doesn't want to stop being successful because he doesn't believe that there is more where that comes from. So when you function from not enough, when you function from lack, that's when the whole fear is like coming from, which takes us back to look at the core patterns. What really happened? Where does all these stories come from? Who do you really own who you are? Do you feel like it's your birthright to really receive the abundance that you deserve? Do you feel that it's your birthright for you to be loved? Because when you bring that love through and know that God loves you no matter what, you are not looking for someone outside of you. Whether you get married, whether you're in a relationship, you are not looking for that person to be your source of love. You're not looking for that person to be your source of money, which at times, even in relationships, whether in marriages, we kind of like made our partner, spouse, or whatever our source of income, where we're like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. If this person is not in my life, am I going to be able to have this kind of life, whatever life that you desire? Am I going to have a place of my own? Because you have made that partner of yours God. And when we are children, really the people that we have made our God is our parents. Breathe that in. We are looking at our parents, our caretakers. They are all gods, because without them, we don't know what to, there's nothing that we can do. Even if they decide to leave you with a nappy the whole week or whatever, so be it. They are our gods. So we kind of like, we are born into this trend where we are trained to depend on someone. But there comes a point in your life. This is why at times chaos can come through, a turmoil can come through, a crisis can come through, to say, find who you are. Because when you find who you are and you really get to go to the core and you work through the stories, you connect with that one who is your source, and that is God. Just by knowing that by being here, you deserve to have your needs met. Just by knowing that whatever idea that is really coming through, this is why I talk about really connecting with that, when it comes from that connection, not from what your mind is telling you should go do. Because I remember as I was on this purpose, I came through so many people questioning me, why don't you just go back to work? What do you think you're doing? And all of my body, when I just connect with all of that, being behind the computer, working as an accountant, I did not resonate with that. And I knew that this idea and all that I am cannot come through if it's something that my soul is here to do. And I knew and carried on. The faith that I had was the faith that I had in God, to say, God cannot take me through all this that I've went through for God to desert me in the last minute. I knew who I am and what I am to do is much more needed. So when you connect with that and know that by divine birthright, God will provide for me, which will for you to have that faith, because at times there's like, oh, I don't trust and all that. Of course, because there is a lot of stories, there's a lot of things that happen when you were a child, when your God was your parent, and whatever that transpired, there is a lot that goes down there. And every time when you go around with your mind, because at times we just function from the head up, with the mind, and the mind has all lots of stories. It's you are not even in control of it. So when you work and you always remind yourself that God is present, and when I say God is present, I mean even when you are going through a turmoil, when you are in the middle of the storm, can you trust that is God with you in that moment? And go into the tools that you have. And one other tool is just to also bring your mind and ask you to connect with God. One of the tools can be just asking for divine intervention. It's one thing that is very much powerful. And those are the stories that we have to dig into. My mind makes up lots of stories. Those are the stories that we have to dig into, because those stories are based on the experiences you had. And this is where the mind is normally functioning from. It functions from the stories, from the past, from what happened. And at times we try to flip around and we go to the future. And the future has not happened. The past has already happened. The only moment that you have is right here and right now. And when you connect with your body, it's still, the body will tell you where you're at right now. Where am I at? What is really happening? Where am I feeling that? Without running away from your emotions, just being present. Then start doing that, my love. And be present. Get back to your breath. Connect with your body. Because even when you're saying, I've got fear, when you run with the stories of fear, what is fear telling me? Oh my God, I'm not going to make it and all that. Oh, I'm going to die and all that. And you realize all the death and all that you thought of, it's just a story. But when you come back and realize 30 minutes later, a day later, a week later, you are still here. But when you connect with your body and just ask, where am I feeling that? Where am I? Can you feel the toes of your feet? Your body is always in the present. And wherever that you have stored that, it's showing up in your body in this now moment. But your mind might be running many miles. It's somewhere. It's already in the future and you have already failed and you are dead and everyone has rejected you. It has created a story that does not exist and that will never happen. And when you come back to say, okay, fine, right now, right here in this now present moment, what is happening? You are here. So when you get to the core of the things, if we have to be on a call and speak face to face about that, and I go into an energetic system to see what is happening, we can find to say what is your fear really? Because at times you realize that all the stories, it's just you afraid of stepping into who you truly are. And even the whole thing of fear of failure. Is it you who is afraid of failing? Because I remember there was a time when I was like sabotaging myself and I was like, why would I be afraid of failing? I mean, I have failed so many times to an extent that at some point I was a mother, but I was not with my children. What more failure can one really go to say, okay, fine, I'm not married. I gave birth to my children and I'm not even with them. I lost my job that I somehow identified myself with. I don't even have a car that I used to think, I mean, when I look at all the things that I thought I was, all the things that I thought I have achieved and all that, how many more times have I failed for me to be afraid of failure? Are you really afraid of failure? Or it's just there is something else? Because there is also a fear of judgment. And at times you realize the fear of judgment is coming through because you are also judging yourself. So when you think of yourself as that, because like I said, even with for instance, when I give an example with myself where I was like, okay, fine, an accountant. And for me, it was like an accountant has a whatever role in the society. So there was something when I was going through it where I felt like, yeah, you don't know who I am. You know that thing when you kind of like meet across someone and you feel like, do you know really who I am? I mean, I am, you identify with that role of whatever the company you are working at or whatever position that you have, or you being married, or even you being a mother. At times we hold into these roles because they give us an identity. But when you rip yourself of all of that, who are you really? This is where you become naked. To say, when I am just naked and I am with myself, which is like I said, the only thing that you own is your body. When you take out everything, what remains? Because at times you realize that all this that we are afraid of failure and rejection is because we have these masks that we are wearing. But when you take out the mask, what really remains? Because that's where the pain is. For me, that's what broke me apart. I was like, I don't even know who the hell I am. And I had to start from there. To say, okay, without my children, then who am I? And let go of the identity that I've held so tight to, because we are taught that, like the worst failure is for you not really being that mother that everyone wants you to be. Another failure is like really being divorced, like I am. I mean, I went through that, but for me it was like one of the beautiful things ever. But I know when you are there, the shame that you feel, the guilt that's all the failure. And you realize it's all, like, as I wanted to talk about the fear of judgment. Because one of the fears that I had, it was not fear of failure, it was the fear of being judged. When I show up and I say, hello, I'm this energetic practitioner. I am this spiritual counselor. I'm this weird person who can tap into energetic fields and see what's going on. There was a part of me which was just fleeing so many miles, and I cannot imagine what people would think of me if they knew me as this an accountant, which is like everybody kind of like gets it. That logic tells them, like, okay, fine, I know who you are and I know what you can do. I still remember the time when I did an advert and someone said, is that is, and it was she was referring to an intuitive coach, and someone typed as if that's a real job, something like that. And I remember how I felt, because by then I had an issue with me really saying I'm an intuitive coach, or I'm an energetic practitioner, or I'm a spiritual counselor. So I had a problem with who I didn't accept myself. So where are you denying who you are? Because at times you realize that sense that I'm not connecting to God. It's you denying who you are. What are you denying of yourself that you feel is not enough? What is it that needs you to look at and accept it? Because God is always present. It's us who are denying it. Because I know there was a point in my life where I was in so much anger, and the question was, God, if you were present, why would this happen to me? And we go through this so many times and we do not face it. It's just subtle. But there is a part of us that doesn't want to look at God, because if God, you were present, this wouldn't have happened in my life. And the time when I realized one of the big challenges that I have is with God, I broke down and cried. But I had to face it. Because the feeling unloved and all sorts of things, it's just calling us to connect with God. That is, connect with aspects of ourselves that we have denied. Because when you go there, that's when you realize that you are just so beautiful. You are just so loved. You are God. But who am I to be God? You might be feeling that already, because I remember when that came through, I was like, oh my God. And even the responsibility that comes with God, oh my God, like, who am I to be God? Do you mean that I'm better than? It's not about being better than. It's just about being. There's no need for you to compare yourself with anyone. There is no need for you to think that if you embody and embrace the goddess that you are, that it means you are responsible or you have to have power or control someone. It's about you owning who you are. It's about loving who you are. It's about loving all aspects of yourself that you have denied and felt like they are not good or whatever. The whole thing of good and bad, right and wrong and all that. What if we let go of all that and choose to be? Because it's the same thing that comes with emotions. It's part of being human. It's the juiciness that we find in just accepting and being curious. And at times, really, the juiciness of it is also choosing not to know. Just letting go, choosing not to know, and allowing the present, whatever that is showing up, to show itself. And I still remember there was a point where I had a challenge, and I went to the doctor for the child's test, and they started like calling the child to say, what is this and all that. And I had some anger within me, because what takes the curiosity from us is the whole thing of knowing. When we grow up, like, oh, like this is water, this is a cup, this is a bed, this is this, and then you look at your parents. Did I get it right? Is that a cup of water? Is that a car? And all that. And it takes out the curiosity. We jump into the knowing, and the knowing is what stops us from really evolving, because we know too much. This is why we have to drop. When you get to drop from your head to go into your heart and allow the wisdom, besides all that is written in books, besides all that you have learned, create some space to say, what is it that wants to make itself known through me? What is the wisdom that is really within me? What is that is unique that I'm here to birth? What is it that my expression, that part of you that is here as God wants to express through you, that is allowing, because everything is already there. Everything is present. But some of it, you have denied it because you want it to be like what you have been told you have to be. You want it to be like what other people have, what other people express. But when you allow the unique being that you are to show up and share you with you, what is it that is really like that spicy thing, salt that you are? And for me, when I look at what I do, like I say, being able to step into your system and see what is going on and become you for the time that we are working together, it was like, I don't know, because I don't want to be called a witch. I don't know, because I don't want to be called weird. I don't know, but if God if God is saying this is what you are here, it's not even about being chosen. It's just about you embracing all that you are. Because when I was going through this, there was a point when I was told it's time, and I'm like, time for what? And this whole thing came through how it came through, and I was like, I don't know if I am really enough to show up, because I am messed up. I am a rebel. I am all that I was told I was. And I remember the message was just like, you are just so perfect. That's the wisdom that came through me, to say all that you went through, all the challenges, all the darkness, that was really to prepare you for this moment. Because everyone has that within them. Are you willing to look at all that and say, all through all this, all that I went through, that was for me to find who I am? Because life puts you through that so that you can really know who you are. This is why I said, for me to know who I am is to really know who I wasn't. Because I was holding into an identity of being a mother. So without my children, it was like, find who you are. And I was like, I'm a failure. I'm the worst person that I could be, because I cannot be with my children. I chose to follow, because there was this thing of stay back and don't move countries because you cannot leave your children. But the whole thing, my soul was just like, go ahead and do it. I didn't know, because I was in so much pain that I realized that I wouldn't be enough of a mother to my children when I was feeling how I was feeling. And I gave an example the other time when I said, I remember there was a morning when I had to take my children to school, and I put my facial scrub on the toothbrush. And my son kept on saying, Mommy, that's not it. And I say, that's it. Because I was not present. I was not paying attention. And when I stopped and realized what I was doing, I realized that I'm not in the right mind. I'm not capable of mothering my children. And I look back now after some years, and I realize I wouldn't want to be that mother who was going to parent her children from the anger of, I want to get back at your father. That's the gift of the separation with my children. That's the gift of healing my wounds. That's the gift of the pain that I went through, which brought the love that is within me. And I realized that at times when we do not allow ourselves to process our stuff, when we do not make choices to realize what we are without all the things that we identify ourselves with, the only people who have to pay a huge price for that is our children. As much as we feel we love them, because at times what we call protection is us protecting ourselves from the pain that we don't want to face. Then we put on something. And this fear, we project it to our children, and we want to protect them. And at times we want our children to fulfill our desires. If you want to be a doctor, you push your child so much because that's your desire. Now you feel like your time has come for you to fulfill it through your children. Forgetting that they are souls on a mission. They are on their own mission. You are here to support them. But always stop and ask yourself, where am I coming from? Because again, it's all about emotions. Like I say, the juiciness of life is really feeling our emotions. Because at times we suppress all of that. We don't feel all of that. But that subtleness, that energy, whether it's something that is discussed or not, they feel it. They get it. And they are wondering, what can I do to take this baggage of my mother, to take this baggage of my father, so that they can be lighter and they can be present with me. And they take all that. I love you all. That was a beautiful conversation. I hope you got what you wanted. Thank you, Mrlachani. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate. Yeah, that was a lot, and I'll leave you with that. Have an amazing, beautiful weekend, and I have an exercise for you. The exercise that I want to share with you is over the weekend. How would it be like to just give yourself some time to feel? And even if you're with a partner, because that's one thing. Actually, before I jumped on the call, I had this thing when I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about. But I felt the expansiveness of my heart where I just felt so much love. And at times I feel like, as much as we love to talk, the words don't carry so much weight. So my exercise to you, my assignment to you, if you are willing to really go ahead and try it, is to be with somebody and open your heart without saying anything. Just opening your heart and send them love in silence. Because it's also a way of practicing to go down into your body and really be in your heart without the need to say anything, and just feel that love filling your body and just going out, enveloping you and going around that one you love, and just sit in that expansive state. It's your assignment if you are willing to accept it and just see how powerful that is. At times we don't need the words, because when we are souls, when we are spirit, we communicate just by the frequency that we hold, the vibration that we are. We don't need no words, because at times our brains, our mind get hung up on the words. Is it the right word? Do I say it right? What does it mean? Da, 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 da. And that's how you go through the whole story. But when you sit with your heart and just allow it to feel and allow that love just expanding and really grounding it in your body. Because when I feel it, I just feel emotional. And it's just tears of love. It's just the gratitude. It's just so many things that we call it. But at times you realize that some things they don't even need words, because words really cannot really describe the truth and the depth of it all. So if you choose to accept that assignment, I would like you to practice it and come here and share with me how it went for you, just by going down into your heart and just expand that love. I wish you an amazing, beautiful, orgasmic, blissful weekend. Love you all. Have an amazing one. And thank you for your presence and participation. I couldn't have created this without you. So your energy contributed so much, and I'm so feeling expansive and grateful for all your comments and all the lovely conversation we had. Much love.